This is Lei from the IGP, Butler School, UCL. We are currently here at the exhibition called Hardcraft, curated by Welcome Center, and we're so lucky to have Rebecca, who working here, to give a brief introduction, and we will walk you around to sort of give you a virtual tour about this Hardcraft exhibition. So back to you. Rebecca, would you like to say something about what makes this exhibition so fascinating?
Yes, so welcome to Hardcraft. This is an exhibition that explores workers and labor rights across the world. We have 3 different sections that it explores. First is the plantation, the second is the street, and the third is the home. It looks at the workers, the people, and also the structures that hold these workers in the places that they are, and also looking at why they are there and how they are formed and created, as well as who they serve as well. There is a big lens that is put onto the individual people, and a main theme about Hardcraft. It uplifts the people the workers that are being exploited through these 3 different systems. So this, starting off, is the plantation. With the plantation, systems is one that exists away from the field, and the legacy of the system has repercussions and echoes through different social classes and structures, such as race structures, the uneven distribution of wealth, the development of the global market, the racial hierarchy and inequality, and forms the foundation of segregation. It also has a lot of environmental impacts and impacts on mental health that ripple throughout time. The first object that I'm going to look at over here is a picture of slaves in the hillside coffee farm in the Paraíba Valley region. So the Paraíba Valley region is a region in Brazil, and what we are looking at here are slaves that are harvesting coffee beans.
Yeah, that's I think a very catchy sort of a summarization of this Hardcraft thing. To just share a little bit more about our audience here, I'm actually observing this object together with IGP student. They're all master student. They studied in the Butler School, supposed to do design job, development job, but our department is called Global Prosperity. One thing related to prosperity is, because plantation is well known, is based on industrial monoculture. Mm-hmm. So if it's industrial monoculture, you can see in this exhibition, starting from this place, you see people working like a mountainous region. Even though it's industrial monoculture, you can see there's just a very few plant diversity here. And you can see that different animals, as if they are actually working in a quite a nice environment with elephants, birds, fresh air, but that's not the case, because this industrial monoculture actually highlights one basic fact: is they're obscured by nature. By the same token, if you walk around to see another section in street at home, you can see slowly people working here in this environment start moving to the street kind of a scenario, and then home as a scenario. So home, street, even mountains often reduced to a site of exploitation or agricultural extractivism. They actually, then this more like a mining zone. They're mining food from here. And it's more like a prison kind of a status. Probably I will save some content for you to explain, because I noticed there's one specification. People live in that place or work in that place from India.
This is in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. And their daily pay is 1.13 pounds every day. They just get the meager amount of salaries. And this is actually what we talk about, obscured by nature. And later on, obscured by culture, let's say.
Yeah.
It's more civilized, but still incarceration.
Yeah.
But incarcerated by the industrial monoculture.
They are
Yeah.
incarcerated, and they're also trapped here as well. With these people over here are slaves, and the people that we're actually looking at over here. This is from this is looking at the human impact of the repercussions of the plantation systems. So you here see a man who's climbed halfway up a tree. There is no type of harness or way that or safety procedures for him to be on. You see these pictures are very, very personal, and you are able to see the connection between I guess the animals and the people, and really looking at the spaces and places that these people occupy. You here to see the real impact, the human impact, and the dangers of what these people are living with. Here, this is an eye of an individual who has been sun damaged because of working in exposure to the heat, to the sun, long hours on the fields, in the tea plantations. This is an accident from another individual who has had an accident whilst working in the fields that has actually mutilated his hand to the point where you can't really recognize you can't really recognize different structures of his hand. You see how it has impacted his life, his hands, and he's already been really mutilated. You see the workers' impact, the labor impact on this individual's feet, how they have been hardened, and there really is, I guess, a loss of a sense of identity, a loss of a sense of humanity and humanness that these people suffer and undergo to maintain these plantation systems.
Right. And as a teacher, as a lecturer for UCL, I constantly encourage our students to using this kind of method that pervading in exhibition to absorb different information but find an accessible way to share with the public. This is one example, like a media use of different kind of materials. You can find out ethnography way of using your research. Also, you can using data visualization. But another thing I wanted to call our attention to is you see all this animal here, no matter it's the birds or the elephant, or it's like maybe it's a goat something. From aesthetic value, you see this animal in solitude kind of a situation, which is actually symbolizing the human being actually live in the same situation, in the same way.
I see.
So as you can see the lens zoom in, zoom out, and start focus on different aspects of this, the tragic fact, the predicament, the incarceration. And this incarceration thing, ironically, also symbolized by the gadget I'm using to convey the information, which is the AI incarceration. With this digitalization, with artificial intelligence, with this online work, is actually make the modern slave use of human beings even more suspicious. But they taking place in a sort of a subtle way. You never feel you're being incarcerated. You think you are the owner of the footage I'm producing or you are producing, but no, you are actually being programmed in a sort of a system. So that's why probably we can go to another section to find more clues about why we also incarcerate just like the animal here we are observing, and how, if there's a they or a third party, how they created different kind of transition or upgrading of the technology to incarcerate human and more than human.
So we're going on to next, looking at, I guess, following from what you were saying, the resistance to this incarceration. So when you're talking about incarceration, are you looking at the incarceration of humanity, of the human mind, or of people and their bodies?
I think it's in both sense. Of course, physically you're being stranded. You're stranded in place. No matter stranded in like we have described, in a mountain or industrial monoculture sites, or you can see that is a facial. There's soybeans from soybean plantation. You can stranded in the tea garden. Any places you do not have agency to get out of this scenario, they call it work site or they call it plantation. That's a physical thing. You're grounded. You're earthbound. Your life is earthbound. You cannot transcend that. You stick with that, no matter you like or not. That's one aspect. The other aspect is you're being exploited one way or another, whether by using overworking, because overworking, they stay in the sunlight, like you have maybe you develop cataract because of exposure to the sunlight, and you're moving out to the prostitute part. You're being exploited sexually. And at home, you're being exploited at home. Even your bedding time, sleep deprivation, also this female and male kind of a binary opposition, balanced use of power, and different accessibility to resources, to the resources you produce with your own hands, but you don't have a say how to use that. No matter it's virtual assets or physical assets, you do not have a say about that. You've been sort of like the mosquito part. We can go to that part later.
Yeah, of course.
You see the mosquito engendered malaria. All the mosquitoes are copulating, which is summarize the true essence of the industrial monoculture or plantation.
Yeah.
Copulating, reproductive power. So this whole industrial monoculture things, incarceration things, why they want to incarcerate you? Because they want you to stuck in the system. You're the object of reproductive. Your reproductive consequences.
Yeah. I think you can, I guess, talking about how to free yourself from the system is what this section really talks about. Here, where you're explaining about how these people are being incarcerated and trapped, and it's because of the things that they are producing with their minds and their bodies, whether it be from coffee or tea or within these industrial monocultures. What this section explores is to how individuals are able to still, off the lands that they are entrapped in, to still be able to create things that are not for a system but are for themselves, are ways to preserve their humanity. Here is looking at three sisters drawing in pencil and in watercolor, three sisters from the Caribbean, and it is looking at how they're able to preserve a sense of their own humanity by using herbal and remedies that are found from the lands that they are entrapped in these industrial monocultures. Here you see remnants of their African past. Here you have an African deity in the form of a wooden structure. You see how the hair is braided as a way to preserve their beauty, and they're resting as well. They're in a resting state. Something that you might have heard before is sometimes rest is also known as a form of resistance as well. When you are constantly being forced to work and give your fruits of your labor to a system that has no benefits to you, simply stopping in your tracks and allowing yourself to rest is a form of resistance, because it's stopping that chain of labor throughout everything. So these three sisters here are resting.
Yeah.
Over here you see another woman in the same stencil and watercolor, but now she is bearing the fruits of her labor in her own hands, and they are for herself. It says here cacao. This would be in the Caribbean, where and it's making reference to the chocolate and the cocoa trade here, but instead of it being something that she is given over, she is placed in a basket and she's adorned it on herself, decorating her own body. This is peace. This is something that is for her. This is how she is resisting. And it's maybe a different way to look at resistance, because it's nothing that is physically violent as well. It's quite simply taking things that you have worked for and taking ownership of the things for yourself, rather than giving it away to someone else and making it a thing of beauty. Over here you